Hello and welcome to The Insider. I'm Lisa Adams. Today we'll be talking with a new member of Erie City Council just chosen by his peers to fill an unexpired term. So my guest is Dave Brennan, who, although new, is actually returning to a post on Erie City Council. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me.
So first, tell us a little bit about your professional background and experience, if people don't know that, and why you wanted to return to City Council.
Well, I'm an architect. I've been working for a couple architecture firms in Erie and doing not only architecture but planning, getting involved in a lot of civic projects, libraries, zoos, those type of projects. But I've been enjoying my career. Working in architecture is really involving with people and getting to know people. So it's really a very interesting career, and it's kind of exciting to work in. It's something new every day. So I love doing what I do.
So you left council, but when this opening came along, you decided you wanted to go back, along with a whole bunch of other people who were interested in that spot. Yeah. So what do you think it was about your application or your presentation to the current council members that made you rise to the top among all of those candidates? You were sworn in recently.
Yeah, I think it was my experience on council. Obviously they saw that there was a benefit to bringing someone on that has experience, that kind of knows what the budget is, knows different things that go on in the city, because there's just a lot to know with the city operations. And also, I think given my background as an architect, I'm really trained to build consensus. I'm trained to do a lot of things that really are going to help our city. So I thought that city council members really thought there was a benefit to bringing me on, and there'd be no catch-up process, that I could get right in there and help make some good decisions.
So talk a little bit about your prior experience on Erie City Council. What do you think was working at that time, and what do you think didn't work? Did you find it a great experience or a frustrating experience?
I think it was it was a great experience. I definitely learned a lot, and I think I contributed a lot, but it was definitely difficult at different times to try to get everybody on board. And it's constantly an education process to work with other council members, to know what their concerns are, to know what the citizens' concerns are. So it's challenging, but I enjoyed that challenge. I enjoyed working with people. I enjoyed working with the citizens. So I think there's a lot of benefits to it, and I think my background helped a lot. Trying to just bring my experience as an architect to a lot of those discussions and try to come to a conclusion and to make the best decisions on some of what was coming up.
So can you talk about some things you may have accomplished on City Council the last time around, and maybe what your frustrations were that you could not get accomplished?
Yeah. I think the accomplishments, one of them was the urban farming. That was done in coordination with the redevelopment authority, because they were looking to reuse some of their lots. There's some lots that weren't being used to their full advantage. So I think bringing that on board was beneficial. There's a lot of urban gardens that came about because of that.
So you're talking about urban gardens, but even planting some trees, like over in the Best neighborhood and so on, fruit trees?
Correct. A lot of these things are a benefit because there's a lot, actually the main purpose was to try to use some of the underutilized lots in the city to try to bring more income into the city, but also just to beautify our neighborhoods. When there's a building that's torn down, what do we do with that lot? If there's an area of town that really needs some development, how can we make better use of that lot? Those were all important to me.
So are those urban farms or orchards, are those placeholders until something else comes along, or are those things that you think need to stay?
I think it's kind of a placeholder, but at the same time it is productive use of that property. But if there could be a better use in the future, I'm sure that would happen. But I think just utilizing the lots now for some use, whether it just be farming. Of course, if there was a future development, we would love to see that happen also. So I think the land is being put together in a way that it could be put together for a future use.
So again, the question of what you regret that maybe you couldn't get accomplished when you served.
I think the thing I regret most is really some of the historic preservation ordinances I was looking at doing. Some of them I think were definitely beneficial, but a lot of members on council kind of wanted to help build that foundation more. They wanted to see what was the best fit for Erie, what's the best fit for our area. So I think now that we have a new administration, I think they're very open, and that's why they created a task force that we could talk about later. But I think this is going to kind of carry on some of the things that I wanted to do, but some of the things for historic preservation is really just educating people and saying these are our resources for our city. We need to protect these, and we need to do what we can to because they're so important to our economy.
So you talked about a change in the administration. So there are always personalities involved in city government, both at the top and on council. So talk a little bit about what kind of marks you would give our current mayor and our current council that you're going to now be sitting alongside.
Well, our current mayor, I think he's much more open to ideas. You know, he definitely knows that there's a lot of smart people out there, and he's trying to bring those people in. You know, especially working with our neighborhoods and the outreach that they're doing. I mean, I think we're doing so much more to try to reach out to people, to try to get other points of, other ideas into the city. It's much more open now. I didn't think we had that when I served on council, and I'm hoping that continues, because it's only beneficial to our city, for our citizens and different people to bring their ideas into the city and to help out, because there's so much that we need to do. You know, what's the best thing to do? That's what we need to find out.
And your colleagues on council, some good voices across the dais there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that everyone brings something special to council. Everyone has a certain niche that they fill, and I went on council to try to help that also. But I'm definitely excited. There's definitely a lot of concerns and a lot of ideas that they have. But how do we bring them together? How do we make the best decisions in what is the best for our city? So again, there's 7 people on council, so we're going to work together to hopefully make those best decisions.
Some people might say that council generally over the years has been reactive rather than proactive, responding to problems that come to them rather than taking action. Is that a fair characterization, and is that something that you hope to change? I
think that has happened a lot in the past. I know when I was on council, I tried not to be that way. I was always trying to bring new ideas, try to bring new initiatives to the city. Sometimes I kind of felt I was going over and above because a lot of these things were either hasn't happened before, and I was trying to push a little hard to get them in. But I definitely think that we need to be more less reactive and more active, because there's a big need in the city, especially to bring in more income to the city, and to try to hold off raising taxes and all those things.
Well, speaking of that, that's a perfect segue. When we come back, we're going to talk about your priorities for Erie City Council, including budget issues. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Insider. I'm Lisa Adams. My guest again is David Brennan, recently returned to Erie City Council to fill an unexpired term. So let's talk about the city budget, and let's talk about revenue. Do you have ideas for new revenue? Because the city could use some.
Yes, I do have some ideas. I mean, we really need to make a big impact on our budget. There's just so much that we need to address. Yeah, I do have some ideas that can help in small ways turn our budget around a little bit. One of the items is to try to. I know we're trying to do some to try to incentivize people making use of some land that's not being used now. Hoping to try to bring some more ideas on how to work with companies to make that a better situation, to try to see what are they looking for to move into the city. Every company is different. Every company is looking for different needs. Different infrastructure. I'm trying to just really pay more attention to that, and to try to make our city more business friendly.
So you're talking about office space, or you're talking about development of brownfields?
I think development of brownfields. I mean, we have so many areas, past industrial sites that we have, that I think we need to bring back to use. We're never going to be the industrial powerhouse that we were at one point, but I think we could work in that direction. And also working with the different IT companies, and there's a lot of high tech that we're starting to look at for Erie with the Erie Innovation District. How do we create the environment for them to do their business, and what can council do? So I'm trying to look at whatever we can do to do that. That isn't very important to me. Also, kind of a separate subject is, how do we collaborate more with other municipalities? I know that's not a new idea, but we need to do more of it.
On purchasing, or just sharing of resources? Or?
Purchasing, resources. I know we have a great police force, fire, so those type of things have been discussed in the past. I'd like to bring some more of that up, and maybe there could be some sharing of that to help out our budget also. Different things with more of administrative things like bundling charges. We have a sewer bill, we have water bill. Maybe there's a way that we could eliminate some of the paperwork and maybe make it much more simple to send out maybe one bill if possible. And of course, looking at how that happens, there's a lot of technicalities to that. But some of these minor things I think would help our budget. And again, those aren't massive things that are going to change, but there are certain things that we can look at.
Well, what about the big idea, the Water Authority lump sum lease payment that would have helped long term? Is that a good idea? Should council have jumped on that, or do you think they were wise in delaying and taking a longer look?
Well, I think we need to carefully look at that. I mean, I've been looking at as much information as possible. We really need to get the evaluation done. Right now, the mayor has got they're going to get the evaluation done of the system to figure out, what it's worth.
Assessment of the system.
Yeah, I think that's very important to have in our hands first, so we can really know what we have here. But also, we need to look ahead. So, is this what's going to happen in the long term? It sounds like a wonderful idea that it's going to hold off, raising taxes and doing those things. And again, it could be the best thing in the world, but my idea is the thought is to really just think about it carefully. Is this the best decision for our city? Take the steps, because I think it could be a great idea, but we just need to take the steps and make sure it's the right idea down the road. How's it going to affect our budget? Because we're not going to have that money coming every year. We're looking at getting a prepayment, but what's it going to happen in 5 and 10 years? That's my concern. And again, we're working through it right now.
So do you think that'll go forward as long as you get those questions answered, or it's still up in the air?
It's still up in the air. I mean, I hate to say for sure it's going to go forward. I know there's a lot of people are definitely agree with it. And again, I see the positives in it, but I'm just kind of cautious. I want us to make sure that that there's something that we're not seeing here. And again, there's a lot of smart people looking at it, and I'm looking to get their input.
Another hot potato seems to be the parking authority revenues. Your thoughts on where that stands?
We definitely, I was on council when we enacted to raising the fees, and it's something that I think was delayed for too long because I think people were taking advantage of the system. They were taking advantage of not paying their fines. So we kind of did put a large fee in there, which is of course a discussion in itself, and what that should be, and how do we treat that when someone can't afford to pay it. But I do think that we needed to take care of the problem, and I think raising the fees is a way of doing it. But I also think looking at maybe some people cannot pay it, or they get in trouble. We need to look carefully at those situations. Maybe there's some type of amnesty program that they would pay the fee and not have to pay the fine. So those are things that we need to look at. But we definitely need to. It was definitely something that was not done in the past and should have been more firm. So I think it was a good move. But now we're kind of maybe step back and see if it's the best way, and maybe how to treat the fine is important. But definitely, people are taking advantage of the system.
Well, when we come back, we're going to hear the councilman's thoughts on neighborhood revitalization. Stay with us. Welcome back again to The Insider. I'm Lisa Adams, and we're talking with Dave Brennan, new city council member, about his priorities this time around. So let's hear your thoughts on neighborhood revitalization. Is progress moving quickly enough, and how did some city neighborhoods fall so far?
Yeah, I think we've taken some big steps. I mean, there's a lot of wonderful neighborhood organizations that are doing some incredible work. It's really quite amazing sometimes to see what's being done. I think in the past, to answer the question about how we've kind of gotten here, there have been some forgotten neighborhoods, and I think that people are starting to step up and realize that, and they are stepping up. But I think we need to have every neighborhood represented. If there's no neighborhood group that's getting together to talk about their issues, I'm looking to hopefully making sure that they are represented and get their ideas across.
So they're advocating for their own neighborhood.
Correct.
Does transients make that hard, though?
In a way, yes and no. I guess it depends on how that. It depends on how you look at it. I guess.
Yeah. If people aren't really anchored in the neighborhood, they're just coming passing through.
Yeah. I mean, definitely a neighborhood's so much stronger if people own their home. So the more home ownership that we can get, the better. I know that's been discussed at several initiatives in the city, is trying to get more home ownerships, and how do we help people do that?
All right, you brought along a couple of graphics here, so we're going to take a look at this idea of an East Side Opportunity Corridor. Tell us about this, and it's an idea, but where does it stand?
Yeah, a few years ago, at the time, Erie County Councilman Brennan and I got together and talked about this idea of what do we do with the East 19th Street tracks? We knew that there was that area there. I'm from the East Side. Jay's was involved in just biking in the area, and we thought we need to do something with this area, and how do we make connections, and how do we reuse this land where the tracks used to be? I know there's some businesses in the area, there's some parks in the area, but the idea was to create a bike path, a walking path through the area, develop the infrastructure, bring in some green space,
They
try
do
to
it
hope.
in Chicago. I think it's the 606 or whatever they call it. I've ridden bikes up on it before. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's not really inventing the wheel here. There's a lot of cities that have done this already, but I think just making these connections and hopefully the idea is to try to improve this neighborhood so that more investment could take place. And if we take some small steps with just improving the infrastructure, hopefully more investment will occur.
So what do you think it'll take to get this off the ground? I mean, it's an idea that's been around for a while, but it hasn't really gotten traction.
Yeah, I know there has been some discussion with the current administration with biking plans, with green spaces, and there's a lot of proposals out there for a green space plan, and so that's already happening. So I'm hoping to bring this into the discussion. It's already in the discussion. We have looked at it a couple of years ago. Now I'm trying to bring it back and push it more forward to bring it into those discussions to see if it can happen, because it does make a lot of sense.
So we know a couple of the neighborhood organizations, Best and Our West Bayfront. Would you say that Our West Bayfront is the best example of progress that's happening? I know you brought along a graphic of this pocket park where John Persinger famously stood in front of a really bad house that's now gone.
Yes, Our West Bayfront, they're doing so much with their neighborhood. We're bringing the neighborhood together to see what the neighborhood wants to do. Bayview Park's one example, and also Westerville Park that was renovated last year. It was the site of the former, there was a drug house in that location, and Our West Bayfront got the money to remove the house and to develop this lot along with Environment Erie help fund this, but they wanted to bring this green space into the city to help bring that lot back to life.
So weigh in a little bit on EDDC. Do you support EDDC, and how does what they're doing tie into other efforts to bring people back downtown and your own idea, this Lightweight project?
I think what EDC is doing is really incredible. The amount of investment that they're talking about, some of the ideas that they're bringing forth, haven't been really talked about in Erie lately. They're really a real great vision for the area, and if we could bring in these dollars, if we could have other investment occur around their investment, I think that's what the plan is. So I'm very excited to see it move forward. I'm looking to, now that I'm on council, try to be more involved and updated on what they're doing. But I see a lot of great possibilities. But at the same time, I'm a little cautious because some of the things that they're planning on, I hate to say this, but Erie kind of doesn't move that quick. I want it to move quick. But how do we do that so that we're doing good development and we're thinking about everybody who's going to be in our city? Has
council been a partner to EDDC in your view, or have they been an obstacle to moving quickly?
Well, I know they have updated. Well, when I was on council, they weren't there yet, but when they have given council updates, and I think there's going to be another meeting that we're going to get together with them soon to kind of get an update on what they're doing. But the idea is to have that communication, to let them know our concerns, to have them tell us what they're really looking for, what the end game is, what the vision is, so we could help work together.
So you had this Lightweight project that did get some publicity, the idea of illuminating underneath bridges and underpasses here in Erie. So talk about where this stands. Talk us through this quickly here.
Yeah, what we had done is a quick study of what could happen to the underpasses because of the safety issues, because of the cleanliness, because of just the aesthetics of these bridges. So we put together a plan that would look at State Street, Peach Street, French, and Sassafras, and how can we clean these areas, paint them, and relight them with LED lighting. And the idea is to make them more safe, more aesthetically pleasing. Here's an elevation just showing what some of the graphics could be in one of the bridges. So that is an Erie themed bridge. So we have a lot of the Erie history involved in that. I know the last vision was showing a lighting simulation of how it could look, because it's going to be LED lighting, but it could be multicolored lighting. You could program it. So the idea is it could be programmed for certain holidays and to have certain lighting events.
So is there funding for this? Where does this stand?
I mean, there's currently not funding for it now. We're searching for what opportunities are out there, but we're hoping to do a pilot project so that we could at least show people what it could look like and what it could do, and hopefully from that we could seek funding from that point.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about one more thing, and that's historic preservation. Stay with us. Welcome back. My guest again is Dave Brennan, new member of City Council. So tell us about historic preservation. As an architect, I know you're interested in this, and you are part of a task force, a historic preservation task force. What are they doing?
The mayor and council created a task force last May or June, and it's a 2-year task force to bring together a team. And we got a great team of individuals that really know what they're doing and represent the city well. But the idea is to create a plan, a preservation plan for the city, and something that's customized for our city, something that is taking in mind what resources we have. So that the plan will include several things. We're looking at funding. We're looking at how would it affect ordinances. What are the best fits?
Yeah, we have a couple of the bullet points here of what this would accomplish. First of all, is making preservation more accessible to other people. Obviously, we know what Tom Hagen is doing with some beautiful historic homes, but this means maybe funding for other people that have an older home to fix it up?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is to try to find what grants are out there, what brick and mortar grants are out there to help people, and also there would be grants for training and how to fix your home, how to appropriately fix your home to meet the historical standards, to create design guidelines. A lot of the things are important for preservation.
And when we talk about appropriate policies for Erie, this really means City Council maybe setting some policies that makes all this go more easily?
Correct. The idea is to create a historic overlay district in certain areas of the city. Some areas are like Millionaire's Row, West 6th Street, West 21st Street. There's some blocks downtown that are already on the historic register as districts. The idea would be to start with those and create an overlay district in zoning, which would be part of council to create that ordinance. And then in a zoning area, you'd be able to say what's the preservation follow? What type of windows do you use? What type of design for the buildings? How to take care of the buildings.
So I know you also want to. The last couple of points there were celebrate the history and heritage of our neighborhoods in Erie, as well as developing a whole ecosystem that supports this. Do you think there's a heart for this right now?
I think there is, and especially with what Mr. Hagen is doing right now for West 6th Street. There's a lot of people who deeply care about history. There's a lot of things that history does for our city. I think it's good for our economy. When people travel, they like to go to these beautiful neighborhoods. It's good for the aesthetics of the city to have beautiful neighborhoods, to have historic structures. So I think it all helps business-wise, economically, and then the overall aesthetics and amenities of a city.
You have to know where you've been so you know where you're going, I have heard. Well, it's been so great to have you here. If people want to reach out to you as a council member, how do they do that? And do you encourage people to come to city council meetings?
Yes, I would love to have them go to council meetings, or they could also meet with me if they want to give me a call or email me. I'd love to meet if there's any questions or anything that I can help with. That's why I'm there. I'm here to represent the people of the city of Erie and hopefully bring some new ideas forward.
And your contact information, I know, is on the city's website.
Yeah.
Well, Dave Brennan, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And as always, thank you for being with us. If you have an idea you'd like us to explore, just email me at ladams@wicu12.com and join us again next time for The Insider.